So these are all of the offcuts from our rafters. And the next thing we need to do on the roof is to put the decking on top of the rafters. But a few of the rafters have gone a little bit twisted. Not by a lot, but enough that when we're trying to, we have two boards meet on the top and we're trying to screw. If this line isn't straight, could make life a bit tricky. So before we get on with the decking, we're gonna use these offcuts, put them to use, make some noggins out of them, get them fixed in between the rafters. That's just straighten them up and make life much easier when we come to do the decking.
Do you feel like you're in a boy band?
What boy bands are you watching? Cannot wait to have a proper workbench. I think that's gonna have to go on the list for autumn, winter, rainy day projects. Who's up for a game of Jenga?
Do you want the good news or do you want the bad news?
Go on then, bad news.
We haven't got enough, we're short on screws. But the good news is we've got enough probably for at least one side.
Okay. Fresh from my dealer. Let's get this finished. There we go, noggins all done. It's crazy how much strength it adds to it. I should have said earlier on, as well as trying to straighten up all of the currently twisting rafters, it's also going to prevent them twisting more in the future, which is a good thing for the roof structure, but also because we're putting plasterboard on the underside, and that should hopefully stop it from cracking, he says optimistically.
We've got a very big, very exciting day today because we're going to be getting the OSB decking on top of the rafters of the tiny house. So unfortunately, as lovely as the rafters look, it is time to cover them up. Ricky's just whipped down to the tiny house because some of the threaded rod that we use to fasten down the wall plate on top of the ring beam, some of those rods are a little bit too long and they might cause a little bit of an issue with the decking. So to play it safe, we're just going to trim those off quickly. Then we can get on and carry all that OSB down to the tiny house. And this part I'm a little bit nervous about because there's a lot of it.
Are you confident you figured out how it's going to work?
I'm confident, but we might need a his and hers length. Okay, so that goes over the corner. Ew, Mama. I mean, I can move it, but that's bloody heavy.
If it was like your arm length. Well, it definitely makes it easier, but not great on my old man back. I'll tell you that much, it's pretty awkward.
Yeah, if you need to move something on your own, like a short distance, then this is obviously useful, but we need to hoof it about 100 metres.
I think we'll just stick to 2-man, carry it down. So unfortunately for us, these boards are actually heavier than they needed to be. We only needed 11mm OSB, and when I ordered the wood for the roof, I've ordered 18mm. Absolutely no idea why. The only thing I can think is at the time I must have been researching for the mezzanine floor, because that's structural, that was going to be 18mm. That's the only logic I can think. Anyway, it basically means these boards are much heavier, and it's obviously going to make it more difficult trying to get them up onto the roof. One positive though is it is going to make the roof a lot sturdier. It's going to make it much less bouncy when we're walking on it as well, so that's a good thing. Now, it's not a huge mistake these boards being the wrong size. We can definitely still use them. One thing that's a little bit concerning though is the extra weight, because they weigh a lot more than the 11mm that had been planned when the wood for the roof had been sized up. Another thing to add on to that is that we kind of changed our plans a little bit. Originally, we were going to have the rafters exposed like we want to have in the main house when we come to do that. However, since being in there and seeing all the rafters up and thinking about how much other wood is going to be in there for railings on the stairs, railings on the mezzanine, we think what we're going to do, well, we know now what we're going to do is plasterboard that underside, and obviously that wasn't accounted for in the weight calculation, so that's definitely something that needs to be looked at. God, the flies are awful at this time of year. So yeah, the calculations are going to be done again to see if there's enough tolerance in the wood that we've got to manage all this extra weight. If not, then we might have to look at adding in some purlins to help take some of the weight, or potentially some type of post going up to support the ridge. We looked at the costs just to weigh it all up, and it actually works out cheaper to get a couple of purlins than it does to replace all of the OSB. So, oh, fly in the eye. So yeah, we'll see how the calculations turn out and make a decision accordingly.
Before we actually raise any of the wood onto the roof, we're going to attach a strip of wood right across the front, which is going to double up as both a guideline for where the OSB needs to come to, but also it's going to act as a stopper so that that 8-foot sheet of wood isn't just going to slide down off the front. The amazing bodiless leg. I don't know why that tickles me so much.
Made another boo-boo. Literally just fixed the nails in on that first board, and we completely forgot that we need to chop that one shorter than the factory cut of 125, because otherwise we're going to be left with a little slither on the top row. So what we need to do is try and make that top row bigger by making the bottom row smaller. So just taking the nails back out again. We're going to leave it where it is because I don't want to get that board back down. Once we've fitted the rest on, we can shuffle that up to the next row. But for now, we need to get chopping another board and get it shifted up.
Just having this OSB board laying out like this makes me a little bit concerned that Ricky's going to opt to have this as a snooker room instead of a tiny house.
So yesterday afternoon we managed to get the majority of the front side done. Still a little piece on the end to do and a slither on the top. But we think that slither on the top is going to get left for another day, and we're going to be moving on to the backside.
So the reason for that is basically we've got days of torrential rain forecast, unfortunately. So we want to try and get as much of this decking done as possible before that comes, so that we're able to attempt to get some sort of tarp over the whole building.
Yeah.
We're expecting the rain to arrive around about midnight tonight.
I hate to break it to you, but it's come forward. It's earlier.
Oh no, what time?
About 8 o'clock.
Sweet.
No shots up the skirt. You perv. My legs are like jelly after that. I don't think I've ever squatted for so long in my life. Just for anybody that's wondering, we have put 3mm expansion gaps around the OSB sheets. Although these sheets are going to be on the warm side of the insulation and they're not really going to see much cold or heat or changes in temperature, we've still done the gap just to be sure that if the wood does expand or contract, we've got the space for it to do that and it's not going to buckle.
Did not expect to see the sunshine today, just poking through, and it might just give us a little bit of a boost on our solar power today. Okay?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just triple checking before we go and get it up on the roof because it's a pain once it's up there. Just a quick question. Anybody out there watching, if you live in Portugal, can you tell us why the standard size for sheet wood, or I think it's plasterboard as well, is 125 centimetres by 250 centimetres, whereas I think in the US or the UK it's like 240, so 8 foot by
4 foot, 120.
4 foot, which is 120, yeah. And that obviously then means that if you have your rafters or your joists on 400 or 600 centres, it always marries up on the right size, because we're having to nip off 10 centimetres to have it fit on the rafters. And I can't seem to find any reason why it would all be longer, but yeah, if you know, drop us a comment.
I'm very, very tentatively optimistic that the back might go up easier than the front did, for the simple reason that at the back of the property, the land is higher than it is at the front. And that basically just means that the scaffolding is a couple of foot higher and it's a lot less daunting to lift those sheets. So fingers crossed it's going to go smoothly. Do you think most roofers wear cycling shorts so they can lunge and stretch freely?
Well, you're definitely not going to catch me wearing any up here, I can tell you that much.
Not on camera.
Not any time.
Professional roofers use a scaffold pole to bump the boards over the rafters, don't they?
Whoa.
What do you think?
Much darker.
No, it's a nice warm light.
Yeah, it's okay, it's fine. I'm just glad we've got this far, to be honest. But I still need to go tack a few more nails in, and then we need to get this tarp over sharpish because there are dark clouds coming.
We're just using the offcuts of OSB to try and fill as much of that space near the ridge as possible.
As a temporary measure.
As a temporary measure. Right on cue though, I can just feel it starting to spit.
Do you know how we're going to do this?
Not a clue. I was hoping you had that bit figured out.
Let's figure it out.